really, really refined. The bottom section though does have a little bit more of a subdued design, where here this kind of has this nice, kind of depth kind of design to it, with silvers and kind of white highlights that are there, versus here you had a little bit more of that design display, right? 5 M.2 slots though, this is a really big change. This board only had 3 slots, and then you had to have the Hyper M.2 add-in card to be able to get a total up to 5, and it didn't have native Gen 5 support. Here, this board has 5 slots all on the motherboard, and it includes native PCI Express Gen 5 M.2. Now they also both express Gen 5 dual slots. So this is a Gen 5 slot. Now some people ask, well, why would you do that when SLI or Crossfire is no longer an option, right? Or NVLink. And part of the logic is that it gives you as a builder more flexibility, more choice, whether you want to use like a higher speed add-in card. One, you have an option for that, or you could actually put your GPU here. So yes, the GPU would run at by 8 versus by 16, but again, even a 4090 won't be constrained. The advantage of that is physically it will just have a different dimensional layout, right? It will look different, so maybe if you want a little bit more of this design visible, that is kind of cool, where you might have this part of the board kind of be more visible, and then you could go with that single slot design. That would be kind of something cool and interesting if maybe you did a water-cooled oriented build. That is an option. You have the DIMFlex design, Wi-Fi 7 with the Q antenna, QLED with the DIM detect. There is a change in the SATA ports, it's less, but keep in mind, you're also getting more M.2. So here you had 6 versus here you had, of course, 4. AMP2, the reinforced USB 2 header, and then you also get the premium Intel Unison-based software, which is actually a pretty cool software suite. I also make note here that don't forget that some of the upgrades, there's lots of upgrades on the Maximus series compared to the Strix series, and if you guys want to know that, again, I would recommend checking out the prior scheme where we dive into all of that, because there's a lot in there, but pretty much everything is upgraded. You're going to get Thunderbolt, you're going to get dual PCI Express Gen 5, you get differential dye sense voltage monitoring, so it's a more accurate form of voltage monitoring. The power stage delivery is even higher end. It has higher performing inductors, higher performing capacitors, higher performing power stages, right? You're gonna have a higher end PCB and that low loss PCB design that's gonna be on there. You get dual front USB 3 on the board. You get the audio DAC that's been improved upon with the ESS Saber DAC and amp that's built on board. So there's a lot of stuff that goes in that is not just here. Remember, we're only comparing Maximus prior generation to this. We're not talking necessarily about the difference between the boards, okay? All right, so that is going to be the Maximus board. Let me go ahead and show you guys the rear I/O. And I'll show you a quick kind of this little visual there of the board, close up just so you guys can see it. So here you can see the board. The board has, of course, a backplate on it, which helps to mitigate torsion. It also serves a little bit as a heatsink because it does make contact with the VRM. And here's your rear I/O. You're going to see no USB 2 ports, or like some of the Dash 8 ports you saw that you might have had lower speed ports. All of these are high speed ports. So 5 gigabits, 10 gigabits, 10 gigabits, Thunderbolt, so 40 gigabits, 10 gigabits, 10 gigabits there, right? So overall, all high-speed ports, 2.5 gig networking, Wi-Fi 7, and then multi-channel line-level audio, clear CMOS, USB OS flashback, and then an HDMI, right? So that is going to get you covered there for the Maximus, all right? Let me go ahead and just see there if we have any questions, and I'm going to quickly show you guys the design on the Polymo display, because the display looks really nice on this board. Okay. When will USB 2 go away? Well, there's no reason. USB 2 is still almost all your peripherals, right? So keyboards, mice, microphones, printers, scanners, they're pretty much all still using USB 2. There's a lot of interoperability and compatibility items to keep in mind. There's also cost. Scaling everything to be like a USB 3 based chipset would actually make devices even more expensive. So there's still value for USB 2. I don't see it going away for a very long period of time. There's not actually any reason to there's still merit for even serial-based connections, right? Because of their superiority in terms of a continual polling-based design as opposed to an interrupt-based design. It still has value, right? All right, so let's go ahead and take a quick look here. The Dark Hero just lit up. You can see that Polymo display. I think it's got a really cool design. Now, keep in mind, you can, of course, go into the Armory Crate software and you can change, colors. It's actually what's called a dual layer design. So there is actually some different patterns that are in there. So this is kind of like an in-between. The Strix board has a more basic kind of just RGI logo, which just lights up. So I can actually show you guys the difference here, so give me a second. So here, if we look at the Strix, that's the Strix, right? And if we actually show you guys right here, let me see if I can